do you think it's harder to find commitment nowadays compared to before, or what are your thoughts on that?
What's before? Like,
I
how long
guess,
ago?
because more people are single today than ever before.
Yeah.
But I'm asking, is that out of choice, or is that out of because it's harder to find?
It's a bit of both.
Yeah.
I I don't think it's out of choice. I
Mm,
think people say it's out of choice because it's easy to say that than admit the fact that we're trying to get a man or a woman and we just haven't succeeded in it.
I think that's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of the common, because your dating advice is for women, right? So what are some of the common problems that you find they have that your advice is tailoring for or to?
A large thing is accountability,
Really?
honestly. It's
Yeah.
because it's counterintuitive, right? Like kind of what we spoke about. It's easier for us to blame the other gender or sex than it is for us to look within and ask ourselves, what do I need to do to improve? Or who do I need to be in
Yes.
order to attract the kind of man that I want?
Mm.
I get asked like on my TikTok almost every single day, multiple times a day, where do I find a high value man?
Very true.
Right? And that way of thinking, it's not necessarily wrong, but it places all the emphasis on going to the right places
Yes.
because it's easier for us to believe that all we need to do is go to the right places.
Mm.
When the real question that we should be focusing on is like, what kind of traits do I need to have in order to attract a high value man?
So you believe if you develop in those traits, that kind of guy will naturally come. I do think there's an element of you do have to go to those places. Like
Yeah.
if you're, I don't know, for example, like if you're a librarian and you never go out, you never socialize, just librarian and home, then
Yeah.
obviously you have to put yourself out there,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
But there's no point putting yourself out there if you don't have the things to attract them in the first place.
Yeah. And it's 50-50. Like it is 50% getting yourself out there more, which is a huge problem. Is how many times if we leave, like every time we leave our doorstep as a woman, as a single woman, how often do we actually interact with a man, whether it's at Starbucks in line or in
Yeah,
the elevator?
very true.
The more people we interact with as a byproduct, the more men we're gonna potentially date.
Yeah,
So
so true.
if every time we leave our door, we just speak to like one person a week, like one guy a week, and let's say every 1 in 10 man is a high value man,
Yeah,
it would take us 10 weeks just to go on a date with one potential high value man.
very true. Yeah, that's a good way. I like numbers. That's a good odds.
It's
Yeah, for sure.
it's true, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
we're just like on our phones on Tinder, on Hinge, like swiping all the time and the conversation goes dead.
yeah,
If we focus on just having more conversations, more everyday conversations
yeah.
every time we leave our door, then that's just going to increase your chances of meeting the right person.
I hear that. So one thing I would say though is that in the current landscape of dating and stuff, a lot of guys are, for example, they're afraid to approach in public. And partly because it's a very difficult thing to do, but also because of no guy wants to be accused of being a creep, right? And while there are some guys who are definitely creeps, majority of guys aren't.
Yeah.
So, and especially if a guy, quote unquote, if he's a high, not saying a high value man can't be a creep, but if he's in a position where he is loved, admired, and respected, he's probably quite intelligent to know where the lines are, right? If you're a woman and let's say you're getting to a point where you're interacting with guys who could be high value men, is there anything that, for example, you did or you think women is good for women to do that can show that they're an open opportunity for a man to approach?
As a woman, the biggest one is body language, right? Like smile, make
Yeah.
eye contact, and
Yes.
don't be looking down on your phone.
Mm.
When we're
Yeah.
alone, we've been conditioned because we don't want to feel awkward and make eye contact. Even though, like, a lot of us, we walk into a room or we walk into a bar and we're waiting for our friends. The first thing we do is take out our phones, pretend to be texting, stand in the corner so we don't feel
Yes.
awkward.
Yeah.
But what if we put our phones away and focused on being present in the environment
Is that what
and
you
just
did?
looking up? Oh, to meet my boyfriend? No, we
Yeah.
met on Facebook.
Did you?
Yeah.
See, there you go. There you go.
Because,
Yeah.
yeah, we're in the same industry. But Also, I totally think it's okay for women to approach a man too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of men who are more respectful of women are actually
Yes.
the ones who are more scared to approach women because they don't want to come across the wrong way.
100%.
And because nowadays it's very difficult to judge how a woman would react.
Yes.
Even if a man was polite, the woman could just be rude
Yeah.
and say something rude. And guys have this thing I call like rejection resistance,
Yeah.
where the main reason they're scared to approach a girl isn't because they're scared to approach her, it's how she's going to react to him.
Yeah, of course. That's a
And
good point, actually. Yeah.
that's why a lot of men who do approach women are the men who are more like lower quality in the sense that they're just using the spray and pray method
Yeah, 100%.
of like the hey, you look hot, and they'll
Yeah.
talk to 100 women and see which woman sticks.
They're like, out of 100, surely one's got to stick.
Exactly.
Surely one's got to give me a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, I actually think that as a woman, it's okay to start the conversation with a man because he's probably more scared than you are. And you just have to start the conversation in a really low resistance way and then let him take over.
Yeah, I always say this all the time, especially nowadays. Like, guys, you don't have to be passive. You know, if you see a guy that you think you want, go after him. Okay, so how would they do that? Because it's all good saying, yeah, I think you should do it. But like, so let me give you a scenario. Okay. So let's say you're at a restaurant with your girlfriends and you see a guy, let's say he's at dinner with a couple of his friends. And you're like, oh, I like the look of him. I like what he's wearing. I like his energy. How would you go about in that situation, maybe getting his attention?
Yeah. Smile, right? The obvious one is like smile, make eye contact.
Yes.
And then the next time you guys are at the restaurant bar, just stand next to him, ask him like, hey, what drink do you recommend?
So easy. So easy.
Guys. So
guys.
people think it's hard because they think that they have to go in straight away with the frame of hitting on the other person.
Yes.
Like, you're beautiful, or I love your eyes.
Yeah.
Of course, like that's more uncomfortable. But if you go in with the mentality of, let me at first pretend I'm making a friend and then switch to a more like flirty dating kind of frame, then that's a much easier in. And worst case scenario is he's like, I don't know what my favorite drink is, like, bye, right? And it's not exactly like he rejected you because you were just asking about what his favorite drink is or what he recommends.
Yeah, so it's like hitting on them without them really seeing that you're hitting on them.
Yeah, it's like low resistance. It's almost rejection proof because you're not even really hitting on them. You're not saying anything flirty. You're just getting the conversation started.
That's true.
So the best way to look at it is, instead of thinking like, how can I flirt and show interest from the first second, it's more so like, what can I do to use the context or the environment to start the conversation?
100%. I think especially because, one, guys, like you said, guys are never expected to get approached, but also if he looks at you and thinks you're attractive, he's going to take over in that conversation anyway, because he's like, oh my gosh, this is my in. Let me quickly talk to her. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like you said, a guy who's got that good like leadership intuition, he'll know how to take over the conversation. And then if he's interested, he might ask for your number.
Pow.